Hello, everybody. So today our greetings talked more about how systems of or education tried bringing oppression into the society, and how or at least in the first reading, that's what it was specified, and how they had or the U.S. had different implementations that sort of neglected the education that the Native American people were taking part or not taking part but were doing in their culture. And so that was really striking to me because I never had read that the US had used education as a source of trying to get rid of one's culture and trying to at least minimize their threat. I mean threat, but there wasn't actually any threat, but they just felt that they needed to get the Native American culture to like a less amount so that they would have that less oppression, or they would have less chances of an outright or an outrage from the Native Americans. And so it was interesting to me to know that they had used education to do that. And I'd never think that you would have used education as a way, because I always think education is, well, now to me is like education is to educate someone to make it better, but that's not always true, I guess. But in the past, at least, that's how they used education to make the Native Americans forget about their culture, and that if they wanted a proper education, that they had to actually leave their culture behind. And so that was really interesting to me. So the question asked about like an experience that we had where we had to heal due to external or internalized oppression. Before I came to OSU and started learning about social justice, I spent a year of high school in Corvallis at Crescent Valley, and during that time, while I was at school, a lot of the friends were like, "Hey, you came from Dubai. Did you have a lot of Lamborghinis? Were you rich and everything?" And so during that time, I just laughed it off because I didn't really know that that was something, because it didn't really hurt me. But once I got to know about social justice and microaggressions, that really got me rethinking again and how about how their privilege, because a lot of the people who went to I went to high school with were white. It showed how their privileges, and so like and how they think about all the other, and they're stereotyping everybody. And so it really got me thinking of that, and after getting involved in social justice work at Oregon State or at OSU, um, that they had quite a lot of oppression towards me, and it really did hurt me because I think thinking about it, I usually was quiet around them, and so I didn't know what was happening inside of me, but my body was telling me that hey, there's not something right, but I didn't quite know what it was until I came over here, and I finally realized that hey, this what they were saying was like stereotyping. And even though I tried to explain to them, hey, not everybody does have a car or is or like a really expensive car and is like extremely rich over there. That's just a couple of people that you see. And so I did explain that to them, and I tried to get that through to them. And that I mean, I did that, but again, like whenever I did sit with my the friends at high school, I didn't feel really comfortable to speak, and I didn't really speak out a lot. But I'm used to usually like talking in a bunch of groups, friends. Like I don't mind talking a lot, or at least talking in the group. But in this group, um, I didn't like talking a lot because I felt like if I brought something up, I would get so they would tell me something that I didn't, or something that would get me feeling down, I guess. And so Yeah, that's like a story that happened to me, and since then, I mean, I want to educate people before they make comments to a certain race or ethnicity, trying to stereotype them that, hey, you shouldn't be stereotyping anybody, not even people who are privileged, because that's not the right thing to do. You should get to know their experience, their story before um, making any kind of judgments, even though it's in the human nature to make that kind of judgment, and trying to keep that judgment away from talking to the person. Because as a leadership liaison, I think that would be like an important role to that try to minimize the judgment so that once I get to know about them, then I start seeing if they're like the right fit for me as a friend or a person. And so, I mean, they might have their different views, but I might not completely agree with them. And so I wouldn't really want to completely associate with them, although I like to still um, keep friends with them or stay in touch with them. So, yeah, that's what I've got this week. Thank you.